Fine, I'm making the Buggy video. I originally wanted to do a character analysis on Buggy, going over the fact he's an example of failed inherited will, as he hasn't actually inherited anyone's will in the story, and how Buggy proves that you don't need to be Nepo or get scouted by a legend for fate to be in your favor, but that would make this video about 4 minutes long, as I can't stretch it any further than that. Buggy's the kind of character you can't look too deep into because the pool looks like it should be deep, but it's actually extremely shallow. Buggy has almost no character outside of his recent development of wanting to find the One Piece, and is essentially the Mr. Satan of One Piece, which is a guy that fails so hard he ends up succeeding from it. I personally have no idea why people genuinely glaze Buggy. I get he's funny and all, but there are some people that genuinely believe that Buggy will find the One Piece, or genuinely believe that at some point Buggy may even be considered the king of the world. People theorize everything possible for Buggy to get glazed, and while it annoys me to no end, I can't really fault you all for it, even though it makes no sense to me. Oda's the one that has given Buggy the requisite amount of importance to warrant wanting more from his character, and now that he's actually the head of an important faction in the story, people are taking that hype and running with it as hard as the people in his crew do. So let me take a look into your world. In this video, I'm gonna play devil's advocate and make every possible argument for why Buggy will not only surpass Luffy's legend and take his spot as Pirate King at the end of the story, but even why he'll crush Blackbeard's dream into pieces and reign as king of the world. If this video cuts off halfway through me talking, it's because I passed out from how awful all of this sounds. Buggy is one of the only major characters in the current era that has gotten to where he has gotten to with literally no bloodline influence or mentorship. As a matter of fact, he might actually be the only character who has gotten this far in the story without these attributes, with the only other characters I can think of that were still active after the Great Pirate era being Whitebeard and Big Mom, who were just born genetic freaks of nature. He doesn't come from a special race, doesn't have special parents, no special fruit, and although he sailed with Roger, he may as well have just been a fly on the wall because he literally learned nothing of use from sailing on the King of the Pirates crew, and he essentially had to claw his way up from the bottom to the top with his luck as his only helper. Buggy is what Luffy should have been, someone who luck just spun the wheel and landed on as a character they should favor. As a matter of fact, no Buggy glaze, Buggy is the only character I can genuinely say made it this far completely on his own. Luffy lost due to the Joy Boy prophecy, same thing with Blackbeard to an extent, because although the Davy clan lineage is hype, the fact that he's essentially just a prophecy child for Jones does diminish him a little bit as an agent of chaos, depending on how integral Jones is to the dawn of the world. Shanks is literally called a child of destiny, and so on. Buggy is literally the got it out of the mud character. He's like Usopp if Oda would actually do anything with Usopp. As a matter of fact, Buggy has actually shown more bravery and guts than Usopp has, and based off his strength compared to his actions, he may very well be the bravest warrior on the sea. Buggy, in the face of the world's greatest swordsman and one of the most heinous criminals in the world, decides to state his dream plainly and clearly despite knowing they'd refuse. That would be some Luffy activity right there. Despite his stagnation for the most part in the Great Pirate era, Buggy still decided to be a pirate and try his hand at the One Piece, despite all the things he could have seen in his life as failures. Losing to Luffy, getting caught and impelled down, the abolishment of the warlord system. Despite all of this, he still held on to his dream strong enough to have no fear stating it to the face of these two who hate him, but also even let his entire crew know that as well. Buggy has the makings of a conqueror, and the only thing holding him back is his own mindset. Buggy has essentially lived his entire life playing second fiddle to Shanks. Someone who had literally never heard of Roger before joins their crew and instantly nicknames Buggy the second son and Shanks the first. Buggy watched Roger show favoritism to Shanks his entire life, and despite that, he had never resented Shanks for it. Buggy even placed faith in Shanks the same way everyone else did, by believing he would be the new king of this era. But the only reason he ever switched up is because Shanks didn't want to live up to the expectations that people placed on him, because he wanted to wait for someone else. Buggy's resentment of Shanks is justified in every sense, because what do you mean we all place faith in you just for you to say, nah, I think I just want to chill? The fact that Buggy has lived this way most of his life yet still holds on to his dream so strongly shows that in the midst of his lowest points, his dream still meant something to him, that he never truly gave up on himself and kept pushing with the hope that he could one day make it. That's a true conqueror spirit. Buggy's speeches are so great that they can even rile up the worst criminals. Do you know how crazy it is that the hardened captain stuck in level 5, maybe even level 6, chose to follow Buggy to the ends of the earth without ever even seeing him do anything? These people are willing to give their lives for Buggy simply based off the way that Buggy can work a room. Forget that Erwin Rideout speech. Buggy's Let's Claim the One Piece speech cooks it 10 times over. He has the authority, the guts, the hype, the dream. Let's be honest, it's not even that crazy to say that he could get Conquerors by the end, since Conquerors Haki is based off a person's drive and spirit, not how strong they are. The most legendary characters in the world possess the quality, and Buggy has now joined their ranks. He will most certainly separate himself from the pack and show his crew why they were right to back him as the future king. In all honesty, Buggy actually has a better angle than Luffy for becoming Pirate King by the end of the story, because Luffy doesn't even really want the title of Pirate King just for the title's sake. He just wants to find the One Piece and become become Pirate King to prove he's a great pirate to Shanks. If Luffy ends up bringing the dawn via being Joy Boy and saves the world, then the title of Pirate King doesn't even really mean anything to him anymore for real. Buggy deserves the title of Pirate King more by the end of the story because he's the only one who can actually show it the respect it deserves. By the time the story ends, Buggy is going to be the only active great pirate who actually knows the aura Roger carried for the greatest portion of his era, as Shanks is going to get slammed on his neck by Blackbeard. Buggy will do the title of Pirate King justice because he doesn't want it for the title's sake. He wants it so that he can honor his captain, who despite treating him like a second-class citizen on the ship, is still a man worthy of his respect. Buggy's legend will shoot through the ceiling by the end of the story. The man who subjugated the world's greatest swordsman and possibly all 7 warlords by the end of the story, forming a crew that will take the placeholder of the legend of the Rocks Pirates as they were scrubbed from history. He's definitely going to make it to Laugh Tale because let's be for real, Oda didn't make him an emperor just so he doesn't get to Laugh Tale, and the winds of fate will favor him, leading to him being seen as the first person to find the One Piece. Just like Luffy got upset that Buggy became an emperor alongside him, he's gonna have to hold the L again when Buggy becomes Pirate King over him. It gives Luffy something to ground him at the end of the story because you can't just give Luffy everything, cause then that would really make him being a prophecy child suck. Buggy is Oda's way of making it so that although Luffy gets a lot, he doesn't quite get it all. And if he does find the One Piece, technically he can also call himself the Pirate King in his mind, so it's a win-win anyways. But Pirate King isn't the only title that Buggy could eventually hold in the future. King of the World is one he may end up acquiring as well. Buggy's desires at Marineford show that he not only wanted to be one of the 4 emperors and Pirate King, but also felt he could even accomplish the goal of the King of the World. Buggy, Zebek, and Blackbeard are the only characters in the story who have actually had the dream of becoming King of the World, and seeing as Buggy is going to be the only one of the 3 who will make it past the endgame of the story, it's not crazy to say that Buggy could end up holding that title. Being the King of the World doesn't necessarily mean running the world as a tyrant. It could just be that the entire world respects Buggy's legend so greatly that they view him as not just the King of the Pirates, but king over everyone, as he may end up fumbling into being seen as the man who took out Emu, especially if he ends up sitting on the empty throne. When we find out how Davy Jones ran the world when he was king, it'll give a lot clearer of an image as to what being the King of the World truly entails for someone without a world government. If Luffy ends the story as being the Pirate King, then Buggy as the King of the World could stand shoulder to shoulder with him. After all, King of the Seas is already a title that can be held separate to Pirate King, as Whitebeard was considered the King of the Seas. If Buggy ends up being the son of Zebek as well, as the second son gimmick may end up being foreshadowing for his true lineage, coupled with the fact that Oda has Buggy perfectly replicating Zebek's Bounty poster and also having half his hair color, it could end up being a possibility that the promised one for Davy Jones ends up being Buggy and not Blackbeard, which would parallel Luffy and Buggy's rivalry going all the way back to the start of the story. Jones and Joy Boy fighting each other in the East Blue, aiding each other out of the greatest prison in the world, and then both making major waves in the War of the Best to then become emperors at the exact same time. Buggy having Rox's bounty poster and hair color may even cause Emu to think he's an actual son of Zebek, leading to another bounty increase for him, possibly seeing him crack the 5 billion range. If he not only gets the other remaining warlords including Doflamingo, Moria, and Weevil, but possibly even allying with Law if Beppo ends up swinging in the direction of Empty Bluffs, Emu may end up having Buggy in his crosshairs, as he may end up seeing him as a true successor to the lineage of Zebek, and Morgans may end up doing the same as well, causing Buggy's legend to skyrocket to the same degree that Zebek's did. Even after Luffy becomes Pirate King, it may be considered both his and Luffy's era, since both would be considered legendary in the eyes of the world. Depending on if Luffy dies earlier than he should due to his Devil Fruit misuse, Buggy's legend may continue to grow even further, shooting him past the realm of legend into the realm of myth. If Luffy is the Pirate King, then Buggy may end up even be considering a god of pirates well into the future history of the story. We know rumors spread like wildfire in One Piece, and those who may not necessarily deserve praise receive that praise anyways. If Buggy ends up living out a full life with the high of his legend never dying down, he may go down as the greatest pirate in all of history. The King of the World who stood shoulder to shoulder with Joy Boy, training under the first King of the Pirates and being an ally to Whitebeard, who subjugated the world's strongest swordsman and the warlords of the sea with subordinates so powerful they could even challenge the other emperors of the sea. A man whose bounty couldn't even do him justice for what he should actually be worth, favored by fate with luck on his side, with the spirit of a conqueror and a dream to surpass the child of destiny. Or none of this could end up happening and Buggy ends up peaking with the title of emperor, and maybe he's even found out for the fraud he actually is and has to live in fear of bounty hunters for the rest of his life. Buggy is definitely the dark horse of agendas. Backing him can either be the greatest play ever or the most foolish one. No one knows what his future holds besides Oda, and anyone who tells you they know for sure what Buggy will be by the end of the story is lying to you. Personally, I think he peaks at Emperor, but I know you guys disagree with me on that. So let me know what you think. Where will Buggy's legend peak at? What will his bounty be at the end of the story? And what achievements will be credited to him when all is said and done? I hope you guys enjoyed the Buggy video. It was incredibly hard for me to make a video on a character that has literally done nothing in the story until just recently, but I did it. I delivered. If you guys enjoyed the video, drop a like, subscribe, and stay tuned in for higher quality One Piece content than this. I'll see you all in the next video. Peace.